Everything that you could possibly look for, or are looking for, or could ever want to look for, is happening right now. And it's not out here. It's in here, and it always has been. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say that, but it's because it's absolute truth. And that's why it's kind of boring. It's kind of boring because we think that all of the treasures are external. It's just, man, if I get that better job, man, I'd have so much more money. And then you get that much more money and you don't know what to do with it. And then you start blowing it out your ass. And then you're like, wait, what happened? It didn't make me feel any better. Or, man, if I get in that relationship with that particular person, fuck. And then you get that relationship and it's miserable and sucky. And they start bringing out all of the karma that you've been ignoring. So it never happens externally. It never, ever does. You can't run away from your problems. You can't get to the next chapter in your life and be truly happy and at peace because you're not at peace on the inside. And I know it sounds difficult. I do. It really sounds, because as I was going through this whole process, it felt impossible. But concentrating on source, directing your mind not towards any deity, okay? That's the problem. People have an image of what God is supposed to be, and that's not what God is. So that's made the word God a dirty word. And people just are automatically repelled by it. So don't think of God in some logical, it has to be a dude, or it has to be a woman, or it has to have this specific form, because it's all things all at once. It's simply the all of it, everywhere, all at once, even the shit we can't see. And the peace from that source comes from within, because we are part of that. So you're never looking for God, you're looking for God. And I know, like, I would be burnt at the stake, 500 years ago for saying any of this. And that is how powerful this stuff is. The esoteric, the hermetic, the stoic, the Zen, that's how important this stuff is. So when Buddha died, Buddha left all of these amazing books that would unravel the self almost instantly upon reading it. And his numero uno disciple, who I don't remember his name, because it doesn't really matter who did it, it's that it was done. Right? Because if we're all source, it doesn't matter who says the thing, if it's Ram Dass, or it's Patanjali, or it's Ramana Maharishi, or Mooji said it. It doesn't matter. It's the word. It's the truth. So it doesn't matter the individual, because there is no individual. It's source explaining itself to you and me. And that is grace. So it doesn't matter where it comes from, as long as it comes. As long as we get it, as long as we can play in the cosmic fruit that is. But this stuff is dangerous. And so Buddha's right-hand man wanted to have all of this information available to anybody that came along. This was the way to enlightenment, and we should share it, because it is God, it is the word, it is the miracle, it is the synchronicity. And all of the other disciples of Buddha said, no, we can't do that. It would unravel the very fiber of existence. We can't have that. We want to be special. So even in so-called enlightenment, there is an unenlightened sensibility. The Buddhist sutras talk about dimensions where enlightened beings go, and they're at war. And how the fuck can that be? how can an enlightened being be at war with another enlightened being? It's because enlightenment doesn't stop. And our sensibilities of good and bad are not played out the way we anticipate them to be played out. It's like the dual slit experiment, where particles change depending on how it's being observed and where it's being observed. And then you get down to the root core of it, and it's actually just energy and wave frequency just playing out. 99% of an atom is just empty space. So Buddha's disciples kicked this guy out. He eventually came back, but they kicked him out because he was so steadfast that these words of Buddha should be given to all. Now, similar things happen in other portions of religious understanding. Catholicism, the Vatican, hides a lot of stuff. Why? Because it can't get out. Because then the play's over. The karmic entanglement's done. There's nowhere to go. We go back to source. And then that's it. That's why they always have a higher degree of learning in every religious sect. You have Gnosticism, the esoteric, Hermeticism, Stoicism. These are all little off branches of higher learning, higher understanding within the knowledge of the word. Because it's all how you look at it. And that's the movement. And in the movement is the understanding. And in the understanding is the knowledge. And in the knowledge is the word. So if there's any feeling, if there's any emotion behind it, it's just a possibility. And it's not the impossible. The impossible is source. And if you lend yourself to non-identity, you don't pretend you're the character. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to wear clothes that fit you or feel good to you, or wear a funny little hat that makes you feel whatever about whatever. It's just saying that these are masks that we wear to portray ourselves unto the physical world in whatever way we see fit. Because you might take me completely different if I was clean shaved, wearing a 3-piece suit, right? I'm a little more relaxed than that. I don't believe in dressing up for church. Come as you are. And I don't want those type of people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want the people that are pretending to be searching. I want the people like you, the 18 or so that watch this regularly. I want you guys, because you're the people that I'm supposed to be talking to. There's no accidents. Everything happens exactly as it does for a reason. Because the shit that I'm talking about isn't popular, because in popularity, there's this idea of a reward. And the reward is illusory. And if you know that the reward is illusory, why are you going to want it? You want the sports car. You want the Ferrari or the Lamborghini. You want the hot wife or the hot husband. And, you know, you want the big house and all that stuff. And that's not what this is for. There's a reason why monks take vows of poverty and walk away from it, because that's not what you're looking for. If it happens, that's fine. And whatever you do with it is whatever you do with it. And that will be your karmic unraveling. But know that it is karma unraveling. I talked in the last video about how by looking at yourself and monitoring your feelings, your karma doesn't dissipate. It changes because it's being observed. And so if you react differently to old situations, you change not only the future, but the past. with the present. Is it the positive end or the negative end of a battery that makes it work? Or is it the battery itself and being connected? So connect. Sit in awareness and consciousness and absolute stillness and silence. Because that's where the answers are. I was reading a forum the other day, and people were talking about this. And it was more of a popular site where a lot of people are just through the algorithms or whatever are seeing this stuff. And this guy asked, well, how do you know this? And I really was compelled to say, shut up and you'll find it. But I was like, nah, it's gonna have a negative connotation to it. And I want to go, well, meditate. Now that's gonna have a negative connotation too, because that's gonna like point towards this idea that there's one right religion, which there isn't, because there's meditation in all religious practices. There's some type of silence or stillness that we culminate. So what I did is I did nothing. I said nothing, because there's nothing to say. Either you're on this path or you're fucking not. And that's not my problem. That's not your problem. And shit, to some degree, it's not even their problem. We are wherever we are to maintain the word. And the word is magic. And the magic is cosmic. It's universal. It does not have boundaries. The further we go scientifically into the substrata of our existence, the more we will find, and it will never end. There will never be a definitive answer. That's why pi is pi, because nothing is precise. Everything's a little off. There's always a little chaos in the peace, and there's always a little peace in the chaos. Because that's what needs to happen in order for us to realize that we're full of shit. Because we're all full of shit. We see things the way we want to see things in order to portray some final goal. If you're having a problem with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you're the fucking problem. Because there is no problem, except your reaction to the quote-unquote problem. And the problem is there because it's trying to show you who you are. You're just not looking at it. You're refusing to, because it's a boring place to be. Because it means that your car and your house, your pocketbook, your bank account is all illusory. And that's what you never should have been looking for in the first place. It is your personal vow of poverty and not giving a shit about anything in particular except source that liberates you from the illusion of this. And that's where the beauty is. You see, that's where the miracle is. The miracle is that there is no miracle unless you observe it to be a miracle. And then when you observe it to be a miracle, it changes. And now it's just the way things are. And that's the heart of manifestation. Neville Goddard talks about that a lot. It's just hard to understand because we are in whatever place we are in, and to get out of that, we have to shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Be in stillness. There's sometimes I sit on this deck and I just sit here for hours. And you go, well, what's happening there? I mean, like, what are you getting out of that? You wouldn't believe it if I told you. There's times where my son is with his mom for a weekend and I will do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And in that nothingness is everything. Everything I could possibly be doing is in that stillness. It's not laziness, because it's fucking hard to sit still. It's difficult to be quiet. It's one of the hardest things you will ever do in your life. I had friends when I was younger, because I was really into meditation and Eastern philosophy and stuff. I thought that was just the route, man, which it kind of is and kind of isn't. But they'd go, man, you just, you come to party and hang out with us, man, smoke some weed and fucking, and you're just sitting there. Like, what are you accomplishing by just sitting there? And I even remember at that time, as little progress as I had, I was like, I couldn't tell you, and if I did, you wouldn't believe me anyway. And that's what I mean about not reacting. You don't have to hip anybody. You don't have to teach anyone, help anyone, except yourself. Because as you progress in this and you help yourself, you will, by default, help the people in your circle. It's like how you raise a child. Do you tell them what to do, or do you show them what to do? If you get mad at your kids for doing something, it's because you do it too. And you have guilt for it, and you judge yourself for it. I mean, really look at it. You get mad at other people because you've done the same bullshit. And you may not even be over it. That guy that cut you off on traffic, you get pissed off because you think you're better than him, and you think that he's the only one exclusively doing this. But you've done it too. That's the reason you're getting mad, because you've accidentally cut people off too. You've been in the moment at some point in your life and have done the same exact shit. Any judgment towards others is a judgment towards ourselves. If you want your kids to act right, then fucking act right. If you don't want to deal with your kids, and I've seen a lot of these people, it's because you don't want to deal with yourself. I've known people that have children and just completely ignore them. They're doing their adult things. They're giving it this label like, I'm special. You're not special, and you're not an adult. I've never met one in my life. It's because we're all children. Children of God. Come to me as a child. That all plays a role, a part in the cosmic unraveling. We never get anywhere. We were always where we were, and then we realized that there is no other place to be besides where we are. And once we realize that we are where we are, that's when it starts liberating. That's when you go, ah, shit. I was holding on to all this nonsense, and there was no nonsense to even hold on to. My kid's not bad. My reaction to my kid and showing them the wrong way to go is bad. Gandhi said it best. The only absolute in life is change, so be the change you want to happen. And the message in that is so big. Now, it doesn't matter what Gandhi did, right? I mean, he let his wife die, and he was this way, and he was that way. It doesn't, there's this polarity. It's all about polarity. None of us are perfect, and none of us are ever, and that's even enlightened masters. Say Osho, right? He had tons of controversy. But if you look back, so did Buddha. They don't tell you the stories about Buddha coming into town and somebody coming up to him and punching him in the face. They don't tell you about Jesus going into certain places and being ridiculed and people throwing stones at him. They don't highlight those messages because they want to pretend that there is this omnipotent perfection that is beyond us all, that we can never strive or attain. And we want to pretend that there's no such thing as polarity, that there's not good and evil and good. And that's the most ridiculous shit ever. Because nothing's perfect. Even a tree will fall down eventually. As beautiful as it is, someday it's not going to be here. And neither are you. Someday you're not going to be here. And what will be that moment? Will you become liberated? You return to source? Are you going to come back? What are you when there's no more you? What are you when there's no more you? When there's no identity, there's no purpose, there's no make-believe, there's no pretend. What are you? Because we like to get caught up in the magic, in the superpowers. But we don't want to do the work. We don't want to make the effort to stop playing the character that we created. Because that might mean that this is all an illusion. There's beauty in silence. There's beauty in you just being you and not worrying about what other people think. If they don't like your tattoos, or they don't like the way you dress, or they don't like how you talk, it doesn't matter. They're not for you. They're not yours. So concentrate more deeply on the things that are beneficial in your life. And sometimes those are the darkest periods of your life. In the darkness is light. In the light is darkness. Be grateful for all of them. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for turning on the notifications. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for being you. As always, much love.